Chill here with Sirius Taurus Moon. This is Mercury Hour Venus Day. And the Moon is 13 degrees Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is 6 degrees Sag. Midheaven is approaching the galactic center, and the Ascendant 18 degrees Pisces. Both ruled by Jupiter in the 5th house. Now the Moon is separating from opposition to Mars. And Sun is middle decan of Scorpio. Now, the energies that I'm receiving are Sun in Scorpio is about the nature of the gaze. Not gaze like gaze, it can also be that. Um, but the nature of the gaze, bless you, which simply means that what is the nature of how the perspective is on something, on someone. And regardless of what type of economy we're talking about, the commodification of nature itself and this is something ancient. It's both industrial and ancient. Is basically a wealth block, an intimacy block, and antithetical. Now, here's the thing: people always exchanged resources, energy, and so on. And yet, when that drains life, then it basically alters the gaze into something that is repellent of life. We also see it in soil. It creates desertification, which means that the soil itself repels water. And I'm receiving that as the nature of the gaze, not the gaze as LGBTQ. It creates soil that is repellent of water. It creates exhaustion in the soil. And this creates helplessness, which is usually Neptune. Neptune is 29 degrees Pisces. And it is so in everybody involved with that dynamic. It shows me something of a pre-linguistic infant or infantile stage where the nature of the gaze was commodifying on a soul level, and it created chronic helplessness within the infant. There is also the topic of witnessing. I hear the bird sounds, and there is a sense of exhaustion from the need to have a witness to the experience. And it can create verbalism. Mercury is in Sagittarius, Uranus, Sedna, and this is Mercury hour. Or is Venus hour? Moon hour. Moon in Gemini. It can, okay. There was use of the power of the gaze to try to shape the structure of the bones. Which is something of a Pluto-Saturn nature, but now they are sextiling. But it was draining energy. Commodifying, or at least draining energy. It's taken the soul away from the perspective of the person, taking the soul away. And there was an attempt to project that gaze consciously or unconsciously to take the soul away from the person. I think about Iran because in Iran, a lot of people do no surgeries. And they come there from all over the world. And this created a need of witnessing to the experience and of verbalizing that is persistent and constant. It could have created a public speaker. And this was speech as presence. Speech as even the I am. Somebody could have ascendant Mercury, ascendant Virgo, because the speech is a part of the I am, or even Mercury Aries. And this was projected on the person from the outside. It was a gaze that was commodified but unconscious. I grew up, for example, with ancestors Jews, and there was thought when I was a teenager to do no surgery so that I will not look Jew abroad. Eventually, we traveled to Europe, and there was a guy that asked him, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Guess." He said, "Britain, Italy, what?" Told him, "Israel." Like, Israel? Completely shocked. He did not even identify anything. That's what I'm saying. Um, but this kind of reminds me of this energy where there would be a life or death risk associated with the structure of the bones. Okay, kind of like people that need to restructure, let's say, the nose so that nobody would suspect that they're Jewish or that they have Jewish ancestry. And in Iran, people were doing a lot of such surgeries from all over the places, the Middle East and so on. Um, but there was something about it that was draining on the soul. And it stems from a nature of gas that is commodifying. Now, I don't know, and that is associated with great helplessness in the pre-verbal. It's like somebody was gazing in the pre-verbal stage from outside and either trying to align the structure of the bones or I don't know. But there was something about the nature of the gaze in pre-verbal stage that created not excessive verbalism, but actually verbalism as the I am. And this was draining on the soul, but it stemmed from something on the pre-verbal stage. There was a gaze that was soul harvesting on an infant. Now, soul harvesting is usually not a human. And as one attempts to reconnect with the energy of the self, this topic shows up. And I'm holding malachite and kyanite. I had also kunzite, so I think I want to see where that kunzite. A lot of things here. Oh, here's the kunzite. No, this is beryl. Certain being, people, spirits are very angry. And to be honest, I don't know why. Smell my Moon Jupiter Procyon soap. Oh, 222 as I speak. Let's see if I receive something. Because I saw something about cleanliness. Ethnic cleansing? Somebody saw some bloodline is dirty? There's something sexual uh, that to do with psychosexual is to do with cleansing, trying to purge and cleanse. Impurities, trying to cleanse impurities of the soul. Somebody, it looks like somebody that was violated tried to cleanse some sexual impurity. They're trying to purge sexual impurity. Here I mean violation of sexual energy. They're trying to wash the soul from sexual boundary violations. But they can perceive it as impurity. Something is perceived as impurity. There's something so unconscious that birth trauma, that's what I'm receiving. The message about birth trauma. There's confusion around the identity when I hold the crystals next to the throat chakra. Something is bastard. Bastard. Child, bastard. What does it mean? My mother would use this. Bastard child. Something's unclean. I'm child born to parents that were married to each other, but biologically the father was not married. He used to carry negative connotation, but now is this an insult for a person or something irregular. Illegitimate, natural born, and love child. That was I was love child. This is why my parents did not, my mother did not agree to have anything artificial to do with my birth. With Scorpio, I have to say is that Scorpio is pertaining to the purity with Scorpio is about the purity of the water of the well, which means it's about something being of love and sensually connected in that sense. Child of love. And what is not, here that impurity is regarded as that which is not natural, authentic, loving in regards to sexuality, or something not natural is considered bastard. But it's completely different from religions who artificially defined certain things that were not of love, that were commodifying also in marital relations, like selling brides, child marriage, even arranged marriage. And the gaze on the child by those lifeless people created something that was voiding the infant from presence, and speech became the I am. So this is the tension between perceived impurity and, to Scorpio, impurity is sexual boundary violation. It's something that's bastard, that's not natural. Something is not out of love. It can even be that there could have been concern that perhaps, okay, for example, if one is born Jew, then to change the structure of like the nose, they could become Christian. And with Christian, they are not having the problems of with the Jews. But still, with Christianity, they would have to honor sexual sovereignty and something to be of love. Because with Christianity is another problem that they see impurity as basically something has nothing to do with the actual impurity. Okay, they accept rape within marriage is what I'm saying. And that created a void, a null, that basically the infant was not accepted at birth by the gaze that they could not even see. It's not it's a gaze of a society, it could be, or even astral, non-present in the physical, watchers or something like that. I can think of, for example, a situation where certain community or one would go to somebody in the community and they would place curse. Because of notions of what they see as impurity, and something in the psychosexual struggle is exposing them. Because the reason for that so-called bastard child was not impurity, but the impurity of the lineages that talk about impurities in either puritanical or satanistic or archaic, whatever, Judaic, Islamic, depending on who it resonates. And this discussion casts away that curse. basically a community that did not love a child, or loved a child but found it difficult to accept that they love a child. I don't talk necessarily like pedophilia here. I'm talking about actually love, um, like actually liking a child. And okay. That child was likable, but people had um, mixed emotions because this child triggered the curses in their bloodlines regarding questions of impurity of the soul, of the blood, of the sexuality, of the marriage, of the occult practices. The and yet the child was not unlikable. It could be that the child was even a quite cute child, or but in a way that is blunt, in the sense that it's kind of those children that people see and they're like, oh my god, this is like commercials child, or this is, and it could also be that commodified look, because it could have been like those children that go on commercials, okay? There was something that made this child very present, very unique, and could cause a situation where even from internally the child was going into themselves. Somebody is staring at the picture of that child, even right now. It can even be a woman, a witch, not necessarily malefic, but she's trying to figure out what is with that child. I think there is a woman witch that she's looking at the picture of the child and she's trying to figure out what is that child. What is with that child? It's something that permeates to the depth of her soul. Now, this woman is a witch, she's very spiritual. And she tries to understand the purpose of that child in the world. It can be that the child is missing, or it's not that the child is missing, it's that there's something missing, or she was called to look at the picture of the child, or she was called and then she saw the picture of the child. She noticed there's something missing. She's trying to understand what happened, what is the child, what happened. A certain mystery. There's a certain mystery around the child. Lot of Fortune was next to Spica. No. She's trying to remote view. It seems to me that she's now intentional, could be worried, something missing. Maybe she misinterpreted something. Because it seems to me that now she's authentically caring about something or seeing something that spoke to her heart. And it looks like she remote views the child, or the child picture, or the soul, or she tries to remote view the soul. She may have to do with Venus because she appears on a Friday. It is possible that she endured something not necessarily to the fault of her own, and that made her maybe suspicious, susceptible, and now she's trying to figure out or to purify that, to purify her own soul in regard to that child. Now, this is a child that would send people questioning their own religion and traditions, particularly if they grew in certain society where there were traditional rules, religions, and this is about this is where this child creates a revolution in in that field by just being. There's something about the energy, and it can be that a lot of people even try to read that energy, or affected, or even forced to read that energy, and they don't understand why. That is what I see for now.